back, everybody. It's Audie again with a highly requested video this time, and that is going to be War-Steeds. Our stream team is finally pretty much at Rohan. We're about to get our War-Steeds, and so it is definitely time for me to do this video. I apologize in advance. It might be a pretty long video. It's definitely going to be info heavy. I will try to do it as sequentially as I can as far as kind of your learning process. I will finish off the video with like my top tips to make things easier. So if you already know about all this and you want to just skip to the end, the easy bits, go ahead. For everyone else, I will try to explain this as clearly as I can. Clearly as I can, you know, and try and talk at the same time. Okay, so War-Steeds. First off, to start, War-Steeds are available to everybody. They are not locked behind expansion, they are not locked behind content, they are not locked behind subscription, they are free and available to everybody, just like legendary weapons are. Now, to get them, you can get your War-Steed when you hit level 71 by jumping ahead of your quest lines and going into Rohan at Langhold, doing the quest chain there, and it will culminate in getting your War-Steed. Or, if you like to do things on level and you're following the story, the epic quest chain will take you to that same place to do that same quest chain to get your War-Steed at level 74, I think, or 75. Keep in mind, for those of you that are skipping ahead, Rohan is level 75 and up, so the enemies you will hit there are going to be higher than you, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, you don't, Rohan is an expansion, but you do not have to own it to have access to the War-Steed, so that's really nice. So those of you that are free to play, that are getting your War-Steeds, you won't have access to the rest of the Rohan content as far as quests, but you can get your War-Steed. If you're free to play and you get your War-Steed, you have access to just one trait line, whereas everybody else, I believe, has access to all of them. Also, if you're free to play but you purchase the Rohan expansion, it opens up all mounted combat stuff, or mounted War-Steed stuff for you also. So you don't have to be a VIP to open all of that. If you own the expansion, it will also open all that. So that's kind of nice. Alright, so let's see, should we just... yeah, we can just keep talking, I suppose. Max War-Steed level currently is 60, and you have 87 trait points. I will show you that here in a second. Keep in mind, mounted combat only applies in this game from Rohan and above. So you can't take your War-Steed to Bree and one-shot the bears outside Bree, because you can't use the combat aspect of that steed anywhere below Rohan in the content. You can still ride your horse anywhere. If you want to ride your horse around Bree, be my guest. You just can't fight off of it, if that makes sense. And as well, just something to keep in mind, you may notice when you mount your War-Steed that your morale bar plummets. This will happen for some people more than others. When you get on a War-Steed, it disables any morale buffing class traits that you might have. So your skill trees. So let's say you're a class that has, I don't know, plus 5,000 morale trait equipped. It will not apply when you're on a War-Steed. So if you suddenly get weaker and all your stats go to shit, that's why. Don't worry, as soon as you get off your War-Steed, they are refreshed. But really remember that if you are, you finished a quest and you picked the piece of quest armor to upgrade and you put it on yourself and you look at your stats, you're like, what the fuck, my stats are crappier than ever. If you're on a War-Steed, it is giving you inaccurate readings, so make sure, if you're doing any stat testing, get off your War-Steed. Do not be mounted. Okay, so, when you first get your War-Steed, like I said, it's achieved through a quest chain. Now, once you actually acquire that steed, the next quest chain for you will be a complete tutorial, and it's pretty in-depth. So all of the information I'm going to give you here almost can be accessed through that quest chain, just so you know. As well, a lot of the tips here will be my own personal opinion. Personally, I like War-Steeds for their speed. However, pretty much past Rohan, they scale like garbage. So as you level up and your skills hit harder, nothing on your War-Steed levels up. So you hit like a wet noodle in 20 levels and you can't kill anything on your War-Steed because you hit like shit. So do I do mounted combat outside of Rohan? No, because I hit harder on the ground, as do most people. That said, some classes hit much better from a War-Steed in Rohan than others, blah blah, I'll get into all of that. Let's see, so yeah, you'll do your little tutorial, he'll have you run around a track and like practice jumping and steering so that you can get a feel for how different the War-Steed is from your regular mount. I'll say that again, it is very different from your regular mount. It is like driving a cruise ship on land with only a rudder and a half, okay? There are tricks you can do to ease that, but it's clunky, and unfortunately, because this game is so old, War-Steeds are not optimized for performance whatsoever. They are crap. So basically what you'll see when I ride around often is that the screen you see, so what you're looking at when you're riding your War-Steed is actually ahead in real time of where the game thinks you are. So if I'm running up to a War-Steed on a fence, I'm here, I go to hit jump. While this is what I see, the game itself is actually still way the fuck back here. So you hit jump, 4 seconds later, you rubber band back, and you're still stuck on this fence being like, boo, boo, because your War-Steed hasn't jumped over it, because when in fact you're 5 seconds ahead of where the game is. It's kind of hard to explain. You'll see what I mean. It's super freaking annoying. This is why most people don't like War-Steeds. Now, that said, it's going to be a little bit different for everyone. Some people will experience it really badly, some people not so much. Mine is not very bad at all. And once you get used to exactly the timing of where your game is versus where your visual game is, if that makes sense, it becomes much easier. Personally, I can ride my War-Steed full speed around a busy town and not get stuck on things. So it is possible, it just takes practice. And many people get incredibly frustrated at first, so don't worry, it is a frustrating thing. You can get past it, or you can say fuck this and ride your normal horse. It's totally up to you. Okay, so anyways, after that little interlude of my opinion, we'll get on with it. Once you're done your tutorial, which will tell you most of the things in here, you can just get on and do your own shit. So to access your War-Steed panel, obviously you'll get a War-Steed button. As you can see, I have mine here. You can put this anywhere. This summons your War-Steed. To access your actual War-Steed panel, because it comes with its own set of skills and stats, the default key is Shift-M, and boom, brings up your War-Steed panel. So we'll start with stats. You can see that we've got the 3 tabs up here. Well, okay, we'll close this, because it's not going to show because I'm not mounted. So, we'll mount on my War-Steed. I'm a captain. I'm a heavy armor, so I took a heavy armor steed. That is preference. You guys can pick whatever kind of steed you want. So again, you can hit Shift-M to open the panel, or you can click this little horsey button, boop, and it brings open your panel. Easy. So stats, you can see here, my horse is only level 52. 60 is max. I am not maxed yet on this character. As you can see, she's only 86. So you can just see here your stats of your horse, same as your own character stats, basically, same layout sort of deal. I never even look at these because I don't really use my War-Steed for combat, so you can if you want. Appearance, of course, this is appearance, cosmetic things. I will briefly touch on this. You can earn these armor appearances in-game at festivals. You can see there's tons here. They have tails, and they've got leg things, and different saddles, and heads, and everything. So you can do different appearances if you want, and just like for your character, you can have multiple cosmetic outfits if you want, that you can switch between whenever you want for free. That's not an issue. As well, without purchasing any additional from the store, you have access to, I think, 6 dyes or 5 dyes. So if you click this little button here, this first little rectangle here are the dyes that you have access to for free. So you can see here, this is his headpiece. I can make it blue, pink, green, where's green? Green, yellow, kind of dark orange or light orange. Or the default if you want the default. If you want to access these other ones, they are store purchased, unfortunately, and keep in mind they are character only. So when you buy a die pack, it's just for this character on this War-Steed, which is total crap in my opinion. It should be account-wide. LOTRO, are you listening? Account-wide dies, please. That's my Christmas wish for the last, since War-Steeds came out. So yeah, you can just free die your things. I'm cheap, so I free die because screw that shit. Make it account-wide, and I will buy some. Some items don't die, of course, same as always. Also, there are a ton of different coats and patterns and horse colors. Unfortunately, if you don't purchase any, you don't get any. Gray is the default. You will be stuck with gray all the time. This is what you get. Gray horse, yeah, you. If you want different colors, you can sample them. So as you can see here, you can go through and see what the different colors look like. Blonde, white, blah, palomino, chestnut, gray, white, blah, anything you want. And as well, you can individually change the mane and tail colors to a different color. Once again, you have to buy those in the store, and it's character only, so screw that shit. Anyway, that's cosmetics. Okay, we'll move on to the actual important bits. Traits. When you first get your War-Steed, well, you'll see a different screen than this. You will see like light, medium, heavy, because you will not have opened your tree yet. You pick which one you want. Now, generally, I guess the idea when they developed it was heavy armor characters ride heavy armor horses, light armor characters ride light horses, so on and so forth. But you are not locked to that. You do not have to. You can ride whatever you want. So the differences are light. Basically, you can link them to your class armor in the same way. So a light armor class has less defenses, more damage, right? And a heavy armor class, the tanks, they have heavy defenses, higher morale, they're harder to kill, less damage. The same is with the steeds. So the light armor steeds have less morale, they are easier to kill, however, their damage is much higher, and their speed is much higher. I shouldn't say much higher, it's a little bit higher. Medium is kind of the middle of the road. It's medium damage, medium survivability, medium speed. Heavy, same thing. Much slower, bigger steed visually. Visually, your steed is actually a bigger steed. They're slower, harder to kill, much better defenses, less DPS. So you pick what you want. Honestly, I have different steeds for different classes. They don't always match the armor. As well, you can have more than one. As you can see here, heavy, light, medium. I can change at any time. So pick what you want. Now I'll get into briefly the traits. I am not going to explain what all these traits do because it's going to be totally different for you depending on your class. Everyone has different skills. Of course, if you hover your cursor over them, you'll be able to read what they do. So just pick what you want. You're not limited to any particular tree. You have access to all 3 trees from all 3 types. And as you can see here, I have points in all 3 trees. I do not have all my points. Point cap is 87, which means you can max all of these and get down to the base skill on 2 of your trees and almost to a third. So you can almost max out all of these. Again, depending on your preference, I find most of these cap skills kind of useless. They don't really... I mean, I get them, but again, I'm speaking as someone who generally plays as a level 130 and doesn't actively engage in mounted combat, so I consider most of these skills entirely useless, but definitely take the time to read these because it will get very intricate in a sec when I explain the rest, and you're going to want to pick really what you want because it will make a difference for you in Rohan. Now, one of my suggestions is to fill these up. Your most important one out of all of these is agility, which is agility here. Why? Because this is your steering. Remember I said War-Steeds operate like a fucking cruise ship on land? Agility will make that better. It is basically your turn radius and how quickly your War-Steed responds. I always max this first. I don't even worry about the rest of the crap. I always max agility first. Again, that's totally your preference. Do whatever you want. As well, the light armor steeds versus medium versus heavy, the turn radius is easier on light versus heavy. I shouldn't say easier. It's a little less. So you could try them out and see what you like. One suggestion I will say, because the medium steed is slower than the light and the heavy is slower than both of those, all of you, no matter which tree you're in, have access to this skill, and it's called Dash. When you hit this skill, and it's got a very low cooldown, as you can see, it's only 20 seconds, it makes your war steed run as fast as the fastest light armor steed for the entire duration of that skill. So even if you have a heavy steed and you're like, oh, I don't want to go heavy because it's super slow, if you have just this one skill point in Dash, now you're as fast as a light steed. So don't worry about that. You will not get left behind if you're in a mounted group, ever, even on a heavy steed. So speed isn't really a thing. It's just your own preference. So yeah, read these skills, pick what you want. Of course, you apply the points, and you can undo and refund and redo it anytime you want. Also, as you can see, you can have multiple. Two, if you own the expansion or are a VIP, you get 2 of these unlocked right away. That's it for everyone. You don't get more than 2. If you want more than 2, you can buy them in the store. So as you can see here, I have a DPS setup and a tank setup. Okay, I'm a captain, so really my DPS shit anyway, but yeah. And it just, these trees correspond. Of course, red is your damage, blue is your defense, yellow is kind of your, I don't know, off skills tree. It's kind of a in between. Alright, let's see what else there is here. Like I said, the skills. These skills will be different on the steed. So what you see here for a heavy steed, if I switch to a medium steed, these skills will be different. Not all of them, but most of them. For example, Dash, I don't think you get as a light steed. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that. Medium and heavy do get Dash for sure, but a lot of the other skills will totally change, and they'll be different depending on your class. So this is very individualized. I can't tell you how to play this or what trees to put your skills in. That's 100% up to you. I can't help you out there. Okay, so as you can see, or as you might have seen, your war steed has a legendary item, also a legendary bridle. It functions exactly the same way as your own legendary items that you've been wearing since Moria. So once you get your steed, you'll also get a bridle, and now that you have access to this content, they will start to drop off landscape mobs just like regular LIs, so you don't have to worry about that. To have your bridle, you do have to have an open LI slot. So you can see here I have slot 1 used. So your bridle has to be slotted in your legendary items panel just like any other of your weapons. Otherwise, it will not actually do anything. It can't just sit in your bags, okay? As well, once you get your bridle, we'll open our panel again. You can see here it's actually on my war steed. I'm just gonna empty this here. Okay, you see, he's now unequipped. So he still has all of his traits and everything, but it's like running around without your weapon. You still have some of your skills, but their effects are much less. So once you get your bridle, make sure you have it both on your panel, so slotted on your legendary panel, but you also have to pull it from your bags and put it on your horse. If it's just sitting in your bags, it's not doing anything. You don't get any effect. Like I said, it functions exactly the same as an LI. Now, another interesting thing about this is you can see here, mine says heavy bridle of the 3rd age. I have a heavy bridle. Why? Because I am on a heavy war steed. If I was on a light war steed, I would have a light bridle. Now, remember I said that the types of war steed are not limited to your class. I can ride a light warhorse if I want, but the legendary bridle, while not restricted to that type of horse, will only get legacies that are connected to that type. So for example, this heavy bridle of the 3rd age, the legacies that show up on here are going to directly correspond to traits in my heavy war steed panel. So if I was wearing a light bridle on a heavy war steed, all of my legacies here are going to be for a light warhorse, so I won't get any effect from that. So while you can put a light bridle on a heavy steed if you want, don't. Because the legacies won't do anything for you. They're for a different trait tree, if that makes sense. So make sure you have the corresponding medium for medium, light for light, etc. As well, like I said, third time already, they function the same as a legendary weapon, meaning you can level another one, get it to 30, deconstruct it, pull off the legacy from it, and put it on a different bridle. So you can see here I have a War-Steed agility legacy. I actually deconstructed a different bridle and pulled this off of it because agility is, like I said, that's your steering one. You want that. I can put this on any bridle I want. I can put this on a light bridle. I can put this on a medium bridle. It doesn't matter. But I had to pull it off of there. So you can see here, rider armor value heavy steed. So if I'm on a light steed, why would I, like, this does nothing for me. So that's your one kind of thing to remember there. Make sure your bridle matches the type of steed you're riding. Let's see. I went over the LIs. Oh, one more thing about LIs. Sorry, let me just... There we go. Okay. So you can see here, as per a normal LI, you get settings, gems, runes that you put on your weapon to make them better. Obviously, I don't have one slotted on junk weapons, but you see here, I have some slotted. Bridles do not... you can't use your standard settings, gems, and runes on your bridle. You can see here, my menus are blank. To get these, you have to craft them, and they are specific bridle, they're called like bridle setting, bridle gem, bridle rune, blah, blah. They're bridle relics. You have to craft them. You can't, they don't drop. You can't, I don't know, find them in a chest. You have to craft them. That's the only way. So again, like I said, I don't use my steed for combat outside of Rohan, so I don't even invest in these because I don't give a crap. The scaling is so awful that, you know, a plus 35 in combat morale regen will do fuck all. Again, totally up to you guys. If you want to pimp out your bridle to the max, be my guest. There are also, as you can see here, here's a third age, second age, and of course you can craft a first age bridle if you want. Absolutely. It requires the same materials as a first age weapon for your character, which is why I don't bother, because I consider it a waste. But some people swear by it as well. I'm sure that if I had a first age bridle and really pimped it all out, I would probably notice a difference in my DPS, but I just don't use it enough, so I don't care. Do whatever you want. Again, it's super personalized, so you do literally anything that you want with that. Okay, now that we've gone into all of that, Jesus Christ, that was a lot. And I'm still standing here, I haven't moved one step. You will notice my skills right now are grayed out. Even in Rohan, you can't you can't mounted combat in a town. So as soon as you hit the village border, these will all gray out. But what doesn't gray out is these stances. So just to make it a little more confusing for you guys. Now that you have picked the type, so let's say you're on a heavy steed, and you have invested your points in the trees that you want, you get on your horse and you have these 3 stances. At least on this captain, I don't actually know if this is true for all the classes, but these stances correspond to my character stances. So when I go here, red on my War-Steed obviously is damage. Red in my skill tree is damage. Blue for a captain is healing. Blue for my War-Steed is also healing. Yellow is tanking, support, whatever you want to call it. Same with the War-Steed, okay? It's not going to be exact. It's going to be slightly altered because obviously your War-Steed is a horse and you're not. So you can just hover your cursor over it. These will change. The stance will change the effect of your skills. Once again, these are going to be different depending on your class, okay? So while my captain blue says here increases outgoing healing by 15%, for a hunter, it's not going to be a healing thing. It's going to probably be like a power thing or something. So again, totally dependent on you. You're going to be different than what you're seeing on my screen. You can change these anytime you want. During combat, not during combat, in town, doesn't matter. Spam them like this. You can change. So that's really cool. So basically what that does, just to fuck you guys up a little more, is triples the amount of skill effects that you have. So, if I'm in red, it would be my DPS thing, if you can consider War-Steed DPS. Ha ha! If I go here and look at my skills, so I'm gonna put this up here. So in red, this is what my skill does. Okay, it increases damage that I do by 15%, and as well, obviously, effects applied to my fellowship. Okay, now if I switch mid-combat to blue, now suddenly this skill does not increase damage by 15%. It increases the target's incoming healing by 15%, and restores power to the fellowship members and War-Steeds, and increases outgoing healing. Now if I go to yellow, oopsie. Here we go again. A third and different effect. This happens for every single one of your skills. So read them, know them, then switch trees, read them again, know them, stances, sorry, my bad, not trees. Then switch stances again, read them, and know them. Okay? It can be a lot. Yeah, it can be a lot. But it can also be very helpful. So you can see here, when I'm in yellow, this skill now increases my morale regen, power regen, my horse's morale and power regen. By the way, your horse has morale and power regen. Pardon me. And yeah, anyway, it increases that. So if I'm out there fighting in red, and I'm running along and I'm hitting things, and all of a sudden I notice my War-Steed is out of power, which happens a lot, by the way, then I can immediately switch to yellow, hit this skill again, get the power regen effect, then switch back to red, and go back to DPSing. So, yeah, I'm not going to go through all my skills because they're going to be totally different than yours, but just know that that's a thing. Alright, so I'm going to run around here for a little bit. I'm not going to engage anybody yet. Oh, especially not that. And I'm going to show you just kind of how the War-Steed handles a little bit for me. This may be a lot worse for you. It may be a lot better for you. I don't know. Now you can see here, running on flat ground, I'm pretty good. There's just little hiccups here and there, little kind of, it's like a jolt almost, but honestly, it's pretty okay. You can see my turning here is... This is me full turning. I'm turning as hard as I can. So you can see the radius here is like a big fucking donut. And I'm kind of drifting. Once you learn how to use that drift to your advantage, this is how you run around in town. You steer into the corner and you drift your ass outwards and you go around the corner. I know, it's weird. Anyways. Okay, now that dash skill I was talking about that makes you run faster. You can see here, 16. This is the fastest that any War-Steed goes, including a light. If I'm a heavy, so I think my max speed without dash is 14. Yeah, 14. So this number here is your speed, so you can determine your speed by this number. Now, there is something I want to point out. The War-Steed has 4 distinct gaits, just like a regular horse: walk, trot, canter, gallop. So if and your controls for a War-Steed, by the way, are exactly the same as your controls for your character. W to go forward, S to go back, A, D to turn. Unless you're a mouse steerer, in that case it's a little bit different. But if I just tap W, my horse automatically goes into just the first gait, walk. If I tap it again, it goes into trot, and it will stay there. It does not speed up on its own. Now, as you can see, the slower the gait, the easier the turning, okay? You turn quite sharp at a trot. See? You almost spin on the forehand. Sorry. I've ridden horses for 25 years, so for me the lingo is second nature. Spinning on the forehand. They're turning around on their front legs. Their back end is going around the front. Anyway, you guys don't care. So anyways, we're trotting. If I tap it a third time, there we go. We'll go into a canter, which is the gait just below full speed. And then if I tap it a fourth time, we'll go into a gallop. And you can see your character also changes their position depending on the gait. So you can use that to go around town and to control your speed. So you don't have to hold down your forward button, which is W for me, all the time. Once you're at max speed, that's it. Currently, I don't have... Well, I do now, okay. Now, I do not have any fingers on my keyboard or mouse at all. Okay, my horse will not slow down unless I tell it to. Now, there is an option in your options panel, if you just type it in, okay, auto War-Steed slowdown. Wow, talking is a thing. If you enable it, so we're just going to go to here. If you just type in slow, War-Steed auto slowdown. If you check this, that means that when you are running, you have to hold down your forward button for your horse to keep going. If you let it go, your horse will automatically start to slow down more and more and more until you hold that button again. Personally, I hate that feature because I want to be in complete control of my War-Steeds going and stopping in combat. So I don't like that feature. However, some people find it easier to turn using that. It's up to you. Play with it. If you don't like it, that's fine. Another note, if you do have that option turned on, the tap to change gaits will not work for you. You have to hold it down. So it will only work if you have it off. It is off by default, so there's no worries about that. If you want to just leave it off, leaving it off is, that's how I do it. Anyway. Okay, let's get back on our War-Steed again. Now, a couple things to point out. Of course, your War-Steed has a health bar and a power bar, just like you do. It's garbage. It pretty much never gets higher than this on a, and if you're on a light War-Steed, it's going to be even less. You can get slightly more, I think, with Bridle relics. I don't know. Honestly, it's garbage. In 20 levels, you'll get one-shotted for double this amount. You know, like it's, yeah. Anyways, you guys know my opinion on that. War-Steeds I found are quite power heavy. They suck power a lot. So make sure you, every character will have a power regen skill while mounted. Make sure you know what it is. Make sure to use it as well. Like I said, your stances, one of them will be a power regen stance. Use that also. If you do it properly, your horse will never run out of power. You can successfully regen it enough. So keep that in mind. Now, of course, as you're leveling, when you get your War-Steed, you're gonna have like 1 point. Okay, so you'll have just one. So for the first little while, it's gonna be kind of shit. You'll probably run out of power a lot. You'll probably get knocked off your horse and die a lot. Because you won't have the points invested to make it better. Your steering will be garbage because your agility will be super low. So, like I said, it can be frustrating for people. Just give it time. Your War-Steed levels a lot faster than you do, and will get its points pretty damn fast. So as you can see, I'm only level 86, so I've only had a War-Steed for 11 levels. And I'm almost at trait point cap. Cap is at 87. So I'm, what, 8 away? That's it. So yes, your War-Steed level's very fast. So it won't take you very long. Okay, the other thing. So, as you'll notice, as you're running, let's just do, actually, let's do a trot. So you can see this red bar that fills up here. So when I stop and then start, you'll see the yellow fills up first. Yellow is my speed. So at a walk, my yellow will only go to here. Now, as you saw, shortly after, there was a red that you can see here that overlays the yellow. Red is called Fury. Fury is important because it actually makes your mounted skills hit distinctively harder. So obviously, the faster you go, the more Fury. So my yellow here is the speed, it's at max. My Fury, as you can see, takes a little bit to catch up. It ticks up, and then if I slow down, it automatically dives back down, okay? So this is something you want to keep your eye on a little bit in combat and plan ahead, because you want to use your big opening heavy hit skill, or however your strategy is, when your Fury is at full. You want to really have your Fury up as much as you can, because it really does make a noticeable effect on your skills. And like I said, if you stop, your Fury immediately disappears. So this will come into play with mounted strategy. Now, I'm not going to get too much into strategy because it's going to differ depending on if you are a ranged class or a melee class, and depending on your role, obviously. There are mounted warbands, which are just groups of roving enemies that are also mounted that you can take on with a group of fellow mounted friends, and they will have to perform the same roles that they do not mounted. So there has to be a tank, there has to be a healer, blah, blah, blah. And of course your War-Steed will accompany you in that and help you out depending on your class. So I won't go into too much strategy because if you're a ranged class, this totally is different for you, but I will show you what it's like to engage in an enemy. So, just like with any skills in-game, mounted or unmounted, if you hit from behind, it's better because the enemy cannot block, parry, or evade if you hit them from behind. It's just common sense, right? So, personally, I always try to make my opening attack from behind when I have full morale. Full fury, which is this red bar. So we're gonna pick this dude who's standing right here. And then you just give her. So we'll get the hell out of the field so that I can actually fight. So you can see there my skills grayed out. It's because I got too close to town. So keep that in mind because it's super annoying. Now, you can see here that I'm very much kind of running on the spot. That is detrimental to my fury. However, I also, because I'm a melee character, can't hit unless I'm literally right there with him. So that's really unfortunate for me. Melee characters have a lot harder time with this. Now, a strategy that some people do is they run past the enemy as I just did, stop, which will cancel your fury, turn around, run back, and hit them again. Like this. You don't gather much fury this way. However, you can actually hit better. And of course, you will have a couple ranged skills as a melee. They're not going to be high ranged, but, you know. So what I do is I tend to run, I tend to do this. I tend to keep running and kind of sideways run, as you can see. And do my best that way. Really, this is total preference. This is up to you guys. You have to find out what works best for you. Again, the slower you go, the easier it is to turn. Another strategy that I have seen, now if your horse is low on health, you can always just dismount and remount and it will be full. I don't suggest doing that in combat. However, unlike with a regular horse, you can mount a War-Steed when you're in combat. It is kind of annoying because the induction is long and you can get interrupted, but anyways, that's the video for another day. Okay, another strategy I have heard of for a melee class is, let's see if we can find another mounted enemy here. This only generally works with mounted enemies that are also going to run. Click on your enemy, type in follow, and now I'm not steering at all. He's just following. My character's following. I am not steering. I'm not pressing go or stop. I'm going to stop here because I don't want to get too much aggro. Or you can just stand here and fight, like, still. I don't recommend standing still because it doesn't work out well for you. But, let's see if I can do that again. If there's one away from the group. Okay, there's one. Oh, no, that's the guy we just killed. Okay, well, we might die here, but so we're going to hit follow again. There, now my War-Steed is auto-following this guy, so I'm just going to button mash my skills. Now, as you notice, my screen is going crazy. If you get easily sick, like car sick or anything, this probably isn't the solution for you because it's kind of fucky on the eyes, as you can see. There, so I didn't steer or speed or anything there. That was all the game doing it for me. So again, that's just another strategy. It kind of makes my eyes hurt, so I don't tend to use that one as well. I like to be able to put some distance between me and my enemy, change stances if I want, regen my shit, and then come back to continue combat. Yeah, that's all I'm going to do for combat because, again, it's going to be totally different depending on your class. Now, to show you slightly a bit of the performance, it'll probably be fine, but I will try and just demonstrate sort of, if I can get it to do that kind of lag thing. You can see the jumping is very long and drawn out. Okay, well, of course, now it works okay. Okay, see that little hiccup there? That's minor. That's pretty normal for a War-Steed. Yeah, of course, I'm not getting any problems whatsoever. Go me. Okay, well, anyways, then again, I also practice a lot in town. But often people can't do that. They'll get stuck on everything. And what will happen is your War-Steed will be running, like, out here, like this, and then all of a sudden it'll just freeze in place for like a solid 5 seconds, and that's when you know you're actually not here, like you see on your screen. But instead, you are actually like this, and stuck on a building somewhere. This happens all the fucking time. You will get to see the inside of buildings that you were never meant to be inside, because a War-Steed will put you there. If that is one sentence I could use to describe a War-Steed, that would be it. But yeah, once again, performance will vary depending on, I guess, your computer. If you run on a potato, good fucking luck. You will just, oh god, just give up now. Okay. You saw what it's like to run around on my War-Steed. You saw the combat. I explained the virtues, sort of. I will, I don't know, kill a thing for us, I guess. Get out of town here. Again, from behind. So what I do is I tap the slow down button, and then I just turn. And then I accelerate past the enemy, tap the slow down button again, turn a little bit, hit, run back. This is just my own strategy. You guys do not have to follow this. You can do whatever you want. You will get lots of practice with it in Rohan. I highly suggest really fucking around with it. And what I would even suggest higher than that is take your War-Steed to a town. Go to Bree. Go to, I don't know, a bigger town even. Go to Stangard. Go somewhere like that and run your War-Steed around in town. Get stuck on shit. Make sharp corners. Figure out how your computer performs with this. Notice when you're see there. You see that? See how it rebounded me twice there? It's because despite my screen showing me that I was over here and then over here, I was stuck in this the whole time. So this is what pisses people off about War-Steeds. This will happen a lot. So you can either just ride your regular horse in town or practice and get used to it and have fun with it and scream at your computer sometimes like I do. As well, you'll notice there's no turning while you're in the air. So you cannot jump and turn like you can on a regular steed. But what else? I think that is it for that. So I will get now into the last bit of this video, which is just my overall tips that will hopefully make things easier for you guys that I have learned from doing this for a long time. What I find the absolute easiest when I am riding around the landscape, and especially in combat, is to zoom as far out on your War-Steed as your computer allows. Because, here's the difference. So if I try and engage this guy here, and I'm fighting him, of course, okay, so watch how quickly he goes off my screen. I have no idea where he is, and it's super annoying because you can't really tell what he's doing, and I don't like that. Especially, also, when you're fighting a warband, there will be like 20 of these mounted guys. 19 of them will be out of your screen, and then you die, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? Whereas if you zoom all the way out, now you have a much better view. You can see what's going on. You can see his moves so that you can stay behind him as much as you can. Again, that's another strategy. Ride behind the mounted guys as much as you can. If you can get them to where they will sort of run in front of you, let's see if I can kind of demonstrate that. So you can see now he's going to start to run. So I'm just going to stay behind him as best I can. Now, when they turn to face you, it can get kind of annoying like he's doing right now. So then it doesn't really, then you have to break off and do something else. But often they will just run in a straight line, and if you can stay behind them, great. Not like I'm doing right now where he's behind me. That's not great. Oh my god, die! Jesus! Okay. Anyways, so yes, tip number 1, zoom all the way out. It is much easier to see everything. Down here. Alright, my tip number 2. If you are like me and you dislike mounted combat just because of how pathetically it operates past Rohan, there is something very key on War-Steeds that is incredibly helpful. Now, this is used most often, pretty much anywhere past Rohan. If you want to use your War-Steed to get around everywhere super fast, but are really annoyed that it constantly keeps dying because the morale is super low, and you run past an enemy at 130 and he kills your War-Steed in one hit, there is a skill for that. So open your War-Steed, go to traits. Now it is under medium steed only, okay? It's called Sacrifice, and it is this skill right here. It is in the blue tree, but it doesn't matter. Most of my, actually all of my characters at level 130 have the horse that they would regularly use, and then they have a medium horse with just this skill. That's the only reason they have a medium horse. Why? Because this skill, first of all, it's permanent. It's a toggle skill, so when you toggle it on, it stays on permanently until you take it off or until you dismount. And what it does is it makes your War-Steed take no damage. So that means you could run around a level 130 area with all the hundreds of mobs hitting you for hours, and never once will your horse die. You will not get dismounted and trampled to death. You're just immune. Now, you take all the damage. Your character will take the damage, you personally, but your horse takes none, so you will never be dismounted, which you will come to quickly find out is super fucking annoying. Being dismounted is like, super frustrating. So I highly, highly, highly recommend you get this skill in Rohan. It doesn't really matter, maybe for you guys if you want it past Rohan, since I don't do mounted combat. I literally use my War-Steed for this one purpose. I have the skill. It's freaking amazing. It's super helpful. That's my tip for that. Let's see, what else? Oh, so I mentioned agility already. Max your agility and make sure that your Bridle has the agility relic on it. Legacy, sorry. War-Steed agility. Get this, max it out. No excuses on any steed. This will make your life incredibly better. Trust me. Agility. Make sure you get it. That's my next one. Also, something that's way easier for steering is steering with your mouse. I, personally, if you notice, I can spin my mouse and my horse opposite directions. My horse is really slow to keep up. But what I find is I combine steering with my mouse and my keys at the same time. So if I'm running in a straight line right now, I will hit my D key to go right. As well, I will also hold down both my mouse buttons and turn with my mouse at the same time. I don't know why this works better for me. I don't know if it actually changes anything. Oh my god, these guys are gonna just... I'm just gonna run into town and then like drop aggro somewhere because I don't feel like being in combat. There we go. It makes turning on your War-Steed a lot easier. At least it does for me. So mouse steering, if that's something that you guys do, try incorporating that. Once I figured that out, it made things a lot easier for me, and I hated it less. We already touched on the auto slowdown. That is the option in your options menu. And we also already touched on the tap just a little bit to go individually into each gate. So my next tip, every War-Steed will start off with, I think you get these 3 skills, but I'm not 100% sure. You might just get quick stop. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure you get these. I don't know. Anyways, don't quote me on that. You'd get this stop button no matter what. Everybody gets this. And obviously it's your stop. So if I'm running out here and I go full speed, anytime I click this button with my mouse, your horse stops immediately. The reason I'm not a big fan of this is because it requires me to click it with my mouse. If I'm steering with my mouse, then clicking down here is a pain in the butt. Also, I prefer the sound of a double back stop. Like that. So, how you do that is if you double tap your S button, which is your reverse, back, whatever you want to call it, at any speed, it will slam your horse to a stop. It's exactly the same as this, it's just a different way to do it. I find it faster. However, a lot of times, the game will lag, or because it's a War-Steed, it'll fuck you off, and you'll hit your double stop at like an NPC or something, and your horse will visually stop, and then all of a sudden, the game launches you forward, like, I don't know, 30 paces to here. So although you hit stop back here you pause, and then you're like, whoa, and then you shoot forward, and you end up here. So that does happen sometimes. It does not happen if you use this stop. So I think a lot of people use this for more accuracy. Personally, I just prefer the speed of the double tap on your S button. So that's my tip for the slowing down, stopping thing. As well, I know some people, this isn't a tip, but I know that some people use an auto camera option. So default in this game, if you hit the X button, your camera will constantly face your target. So I have mine disabled because I can't stand that feature. But if I had clicked this Stable Master and my character was facing over here, my camera would constantly face this guy. So that it would be like this. So no matter what happens with my character, my camera would go like this. I find that retardedly annoying. A lot of people like it though for mounted combat because then you can always see your enemy. However, I find that if you just zoom out, then you can see your enemy anyway. So honestly, it's up to you. I don't use X. I have it disabled. But some people toggle X, and your camera, no matter what, will always face your target regardless of where you are on the screen. So that's another option for steering if you want to try it out, see how that works for you, and incorporate it or not into your War-Steed routine. And yeah, that's about it for me for tips. Those are my top ones for sure. War-Steed is definitely a big learning curve. It's not like anything you've done in this game before, so really give it a chance and go easy on yourself because it can be incredibly frustrating, especially if your computer performance is not great. And it's not even your computer. Half of it is the non-optimized War-Steed. But like I said, your War-Steed does level a lot faster than you, so it will definitely improve as you go, but really, it's definitely a learning curve, so give yourself a break with it. You're not going to master it in a day or a week or even probably a month. It took me quite a while, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to use it. Unfortunately, Rohan does kind of make mounted combat a thing. There are a number of enemies that, unless you're a ranged character, you're not going to be able to kill unless you're mounted, because they're just going to run far away from you. But yeah, other than that, honestly, War-Steed is definitely something new for you if you've never seen it before. So enjoy learning it, enjoy figuring out your own class traits, and I will see you guys on the plains of Rohan.